Your biceps won't grow if you're only doing standard dumbbell curls, especially if you want those massive peaks like Arnold. So in the next 5 minutes, I'll show you the 2 exercises and cues that actually blew up my biceps so that you don't waste 7 years like I did. Now first, I need to explain the trap that I fell into so that you don't end up making the same mistake. Because for years, I was the guy with the skinny arms and I was so desperate to change that I blindly copied what some of the jack guys in the gym told me to do. So at the end of every upper body workout, I did my dumbbell and barbell curls. I thought that if it worked for them, it must work for me. But in all these years, my arms just weren't growing. Something had to be off. So I started researching. I studied biomechanics and got one of the most respected bodybuilding qualifications in the world. And once I started applying what I learned, my biceps grew so much, I finally had the confidence to wear t-shirts again. I realized that I was curling the weight, but I wasn't really training the biceps. So then how do you effectively train the bicep? Now the primary function of the bicep is bending the elbow. So the only way to train the bicep is by curling in one way or another. But if you're only doing standard curls, that's exactly what's keeping your arms small. And here's why. The bicep consists of 2 heads. The short head, which gives that thicker and wider look to the bicep, and the long head, which gives the bicep that peak look. A standard curl doesn't effectively train both heads. And that's because both heads work slightly different. So you need 2 different exercises to target them properly. And the first exercise is a preacher curl. This mainly targets that short head, which is biased more when your arm is in front of your body, and preacher curls lock you right into that position. Now I will say that this doesn't mean that just one head is working and the other is turned off. Whenever you're doing an exercise, both heads are working, but one head can dominate over the other. But the real reason the preacher curl will blow up your biceps is stability. And this is something I see all the time when reviewing training footage of new clients, is that they're not only curling the weight up, but they're also moving the upper arm forward. And what this does is that it reduces the range of motion of the biceps, and so it makes the exercise less effective. Preacher curls really pin your upper arm to the pad, so the biceps have to do all the work. This guy tried it with just the back of the chair, 10 reps at half his normal weight, and his arms were cooked. And here's a little detail that Arnold used that most guys don't even think of.
How many people don't know that your bicep gets developed by not only curling, but also turning the wrists?
The twist that he's talking about is called supination, which is turning the palm of the hand upwards. And it's another function of the bicep. So what does that mean for you? Well, next I'll show you. Here on the left is how I see most guys curl. And on the right, you see me doing exactly what Arnold meant. See how different that hand position is? So on every rep, really turn your pinky towards the ceiling. That's how you build the thickness of the bicep. But Arnold didn't just have thick biceps, he also had that crazy peak. And what really builds that peak on your bicep is the long head. And the long head of the biceps crosses the shoulder joint, which simply means it connects to the shoulder and not the arm like the short head does. And because of this, we need to move the arm behind the body when training the biceps. That's where you get the stretch that the standard curl will never hit. So the second exercise is a behind the body curl. You can do this with an incline dumbbell curl, a Bayesian curl, or even a drag curl. These are all great exercises to do, but my favorite is the supported incline dumbbell curl because it adds that one important thing we've talked about, stability. I usually set it up against a pad on a lat pull down station, so my elbows can't drift forward and the biceps stay fully loaded throughout the entire movement. Now in fairness, the insertions of your biceps are purely genetic. Some people will just have shorter biceps with a higher peak, and other people will naturally have longer biceps. But you can absolutely maximize the peak by prioritizing the long head like this. Alright, so now that you know which exercises to do and why, here's how to program them to really blow up your biceps. First is volume. You want 10 to 12 hard sets per week for bicep, split across at least 2 workouts. And if your biceps are really your number one priority, don't train them at the end when they're already smoked, but train them at the start of your workout. Or even add a few bicep sets at the start of leg day to bring up that volume. Second is intensity. For arms, you'll always want to take each set to failure, especially on supported curls, because arms usually don't need more than 2 days to recover like bigger muscle groups do. And to really get the most out of each set, rest as long as you need between those sets. I don't even time it. I go when breathing is back to normal, and I feel physically and mentally ready to do another hard set. Third, progression. I found that 10 to 15 rep is the perfect balance between stimulus and fatigue. And to progress, I use the double linear progression model for myself and all my clients, and it works like this. You keep increasing the reps until you're at the top of the rep range. Once you hit the top of the rep range, increase the weight by the smallest increment. Reset and build up the reps again. If you do this right, your biceps will blow up. And if you want everything I shared in a ready-to-use routine, you can get my free workout program in a link in the description. But here's the truth. Massive arms mean nothing if you have small shoulders. So watch this video next. I'll show you exactly how you can finally grow wide shoulders to make your physique really pop.